Okay, hello everyone. Today we try to implement the basic task first, and also we look into the another task like task 2 and the basic suggested for Android developers uh, guide architecture. Follow the guide for good clean architecture. Sveiki. Ar girdit?
Girdžiu.
Tvarkoj. Tai gerai, tai turbūt vienas ir būsit šiandien.
Turbūt vėl.
Gerai, tai šiandieną pažiūrėsim toliau jau patį Androidą. Okay, today we look into the task first for navigation component architecture from Jetpack library and MVVM model or architecture pattern for Android. And first, when we open the Android Studio, we need to create our folder or packages structure for MVVM pattern, and just I create new templates from the empty activity and our name, for example, maybe shop, and here we pick API 21st. At the moment it's fine. And after, when we creating the project, first you need to wait for Gradle sync project, and after this you should get your basic packages or structures for your projects. Okay. And here, as you see, also you're able to choose or pick different style of view your files. Sometimes you need it to view all folders, you're able to change to the project files or any other filters here. By default, when using Android, it's like merge a bit those same names images. For example, as you see, IC launcher, here are the 6 images, but when you open as a project files, you will see there is a lot of different folders here, and of course it's hard to navigate if you don't need it. Better to use the Android every time, and when you need it, you're able to switch it to different mode. And now we have the structure. App is your module or app application scope, and you have the Gradle scripts. It's for building and creating your project, adding dependencies, and etc. As you see here, there is a project scope and application scope. It means here it's if you have more modules, like more app parts, you're able to control separately. And project scope is for whole project, like repository links, like from where to download those dependencies. You're able to have the custom ones if you would like to use it in different third-party libraries. Sometimes you need it added to repository server. And basically you always look into this build Gradle file, and here is by default using the Groovy JVM programming language, and also in the newest versions you able to write in Kotlin also Gradle files, but you need to configure it a bit. By default, when you're creating, you get the Groovy language here, and in documentation you will find some information about this block meanings, like what does it mean, Android scope, default config, build types, dependencies. Of course it's self-representative at the moment. And here I think that basically for your whole tasks we use a bit maybe the default or build types, we changing a bit some properties, and the basic aim it's all only dependencies. As a Gradle script we're using only dependencies, we don't write any Gradle script tasks because you're able to write your own tasks if you would like to do this. We're just using the default configuration file and just maybe modify a bit. And if you see the yellow, you just try to update and Alt Enter. When you hit it, you're able to update your dependency. And of course, sometimes when you're updating, you get some errors, and you need to carefully try to update if you creating the project like in Android Studio 3.3. You just maybe and leave it. But if you would like to migrate, you just face some problems sometimes. Manifest is a face of the Android application, and when you look in here, you will get sometimes add some properties or just some. When you're creating more activities, you will see like more activity tags added here. At the moment we have only the single activity, main activity, and the launcher means that here is a launcher activity. And also we have more files like allow, shop, we have more tags like the label for app name, icon, and etc. Also here you're able to add permissions, for example internet. And when you add it here, that means you allow to use the internet from your application. Of course, you're able to do this programming in writing the code instead of adding to manifest, that you're able to add your permissions also to the manifest. And here is a more settings rules here. Now there is another structure. You have Android test and test. We ignore it for a moment. We're using the main folder is for source code. And here you see the basic structure of your simple Android application and single view to make it work your app. Like when we are running the app, and you should get some result like displaying the activity name layout. And all layouts is used XML style, using XML in background, or you're able to use it designer here when you're creating your views. And in some languages everything is widgets. In Android it's everything, maybe it's views. It's a similar stuff, like same as a widgets, because you have view here, inside there is groups of views and etc. And when you're controlling, you need to control the views. And the button, of course, also is view. It's of course a component, but is it view also? They have separate scope if you would like to embed into another view, like this button. And here the main function is on create, means when you're creating the program, it's launch your main activity main template or view here. And in designer you're able to change your view, adding some components, etc. And when you click the code, you're able to see your code inside that folder. And when you hit the split, you see the code and of course everything you see here. It's really hard to manage them. You need maybe bigger size screens, or just close some other stuff. Palette, for example, and attributes. If you'd like to work in the single screen, you need to manage your space. And here, of course, you're able to write a code inside XML and see a result here. Or just use Simple Designer from the palette and drag and drop your elements. And here it really doesn't matter which way it's your best one, you pick that one. And here there is more functions exist here. It's like on resume, on destroy, and etc. It's like basically runs infinity loop, and those functions is like a state. And once some states changes, it calls that function. And for example, when you minimize your app, it's in pause the state, and in pause state it calls on pause, for example. And here it's super on pause. It means that by default calling the default implementation, and you're able to override your own code. What does happen on pause function? And you're able to use any of other functions. Maybe I would like to find on create, on pause, and write basic functions. Life cycle here. Life cycle. Okay, we have life cycle. Activity starts, on create, on start, on resume, on pause, on stop, on restart. And here you see sometimes happen and on destroy. And process kill, it's of course sometimes happen. But this means like more to infinity loop, and those states is changing during this time. And sometimes when you crash in your app, it automatically runs again the same app and start from beginning. There is some states, and for that reason you're not able to close your program. There is no exit from this loop because here is a life cycle, and life cycle is, for example, for a moment till some states happen. And when you're creating the MVVM pattern, you first need to create your folders or structure as packages. First package we needed for models. You need to have some models. You need to have the view models, and you need also fragments or just UI, doesn't matter. And now fragments, models, view models, repositories, and new folder adapters. Here basically all the folders which we need to use to implement our app and to use it MVVM. For MVVM we needed only those three, like models, repositories, view models. And MVVM, we look in our so again we have the guide to app architecture, and that guide means here is a MVVM example architecture pattern. And as you see here, activity fragment, Because we're using navigation component architecture, that means we would like to create the app using the single activity. Of course, we're able to add a separate activity before. For your task, you need to create a splash screen. Of course, you create splash screen activity, and later you move into the main activity, which is single activity for your whole app. And here is UI part. In the green color, it's UI part, and here you just would like to render your some fancy stuff, or text, or images, or list items, etc. And view model, it's added in Jetpack. By default, it's class working with a business data, business. It's like a main logic for your app, and you just controlling some data from the other sources like databases or local, or database stored in local storage also. From other sources you get the data, and you just write your algorithm here, like business layer here. Here is UI layer, business layer, and repository. It's one more layer to separate for remote connections, for example, to web service, or locally to database connection, or just locally have some list when you just would like to have some static data added to your app. And those layers, it separates each from other, and it helps to solve the problems, because here it's using observer pattern or live data, which is waiting for changes from the remote server or other sources. And when the data is, for example, if you try to connect to data server and server is off, you're not updating the UI, because there is no reason update if the server is not working. If you're implementing in your main activity in fragment or any side, like to connect to web service, and you will get the error, you need to say that server at the moment not working, etc. For that reason, that pattern solves that problem. You don't need it to write anything. Like when you get updates, you automatically display those updates to your screen, instead of you don't need to manage the states like offline or not offline, etc. You need maybe to manage states for offline your device. Just say that when you're offline, you're not able to see the data from the web internet, for example. Here you're able to do like this, but when you just displaying the list of data from the server, you will see always the newest data. And if you're not able to connect to server, you just showing the same data all the time till the server connects, and you will get updates. It's like using observer pattern. You just wait until some changes happen. And we have those adapter fragments repositories to models. And we, of course, creating also other stuff here. For drawable folder, you're able to add images, PNGs, JPEGs, etc. And layout, it's your main layouts. You're able to have the separate layouts. At the moment, I'm just using the single portrait version. You're able to add land and small sizes, bigger sizes. We added those later, because you need to create other layout. For example, if you need to create a layout land, you need to create a folder directory layout land. And of course, as you see here, nothing happens here. You need to switch the project files, and later you will see layout land. I just demonstrate how it works. When you're adding some XML files here, you automatically in layout land folder you will get landscape view. Here you will see the portrait one, here you will see the landscape one. And you're also able to create a lot of different sizes of layouts and just to implement your app. Like in portrait, you're adding that way elements. In landscape, you change your layout. And now we don't use it here. Android. Back to Android, and as you see here, we have merge activity main XML and main XML landscape. The same file, same name, and when you have the main activity and rotating your screen, you automatically using different layout. Bitmap is launcher icon. There's nothing special. You need to create a lot of different screens. As you see, HTTP, MTP, and etc. Values is color, strings like your names, able to create your names, and styles. Colors or your own styles. For example, we're using the light dark action, but able to create your own custom styles. And for a moment, we need to create our first task. Navigation, component, attack, and navigation XML. We need to create our navigation first, and as you see here, you need dependencies. For Kotlin that ones, and for Java another one. But we try to create only in the project, and maybe it automatically adds those dependencies. In newest Android version, when you're using some other already known libraries, you don't need to add those dependencies, but it's suggesting how to add it to your app. Those dependencies, you don't need to separately copy from web and add it, but sometimes you need it. And navigation is also a resource file, and when you're creating resource, new Android resource directory. And here we're able to pick different elements like navigation. And here your name for directory, here name resource type, and that's it. You're creating new dir. And here we're able to create new navigation resource file. We created navigation. Same. And you see you need those dependencies. Okay. We're just adding those two dependencies. And now you get your XML file here. And we don't have any destinations. Attributes. Here you see some attributes. Later, if you're moving between the windows, be able to add some attributes which you're passing. And on the left side we see host, now host fragment found, and you see the graph. And as you see, we are able to add it, create new destination, or add some already exist destinations. Because here it's single app activity, we would like to create single activity app. We need to use fragments for all screens and use the host fragment for changing those fragments. And of course, you're able to create fragment here when you're create new destination. That means you're creating the fragment. Here it's some templates for fragments. And as you see here, you're able to create the fragment as the same when you're creating in the fragment folder also. And here also we don't have anything here at the moment. And now we need to move to our main layout. Why we need to go here? Because we need to create the host fragment. We just deleting our text. We have constraint layout, and also for this example I just showed how to create the bottom navigation. Able to use the template, but I create from scratch. And bottom navigation view, you need to add it like here. And when you add in here, we have some attributes. We would like to add constraints, because using constraint layout, you're able to say that bottom is 0, the left side is also 0, 0. That means it's center your component inside that container, inside the constraint layout. And if you would like to show the width, you should pick the match constraint better, because when you 0, 0, it's like full screen, the bottom navigation. Doesn't matter which type of screen, it's more responsive to that. And layout height, I pick only the, I don't know, 150 dB. I think it's enough, or 100 maybe. Smaller one. And here we have our static bottom navigation view. And of course, always you need to add it bottom nav some ID name, because later we need to initialize this bottom navigation. And here, as we see, bottom nav, it's preview. And here we're adding components, and here we see preview for the elements. It's easier to see what changes here. And also, as I mentioned, we need nav host fragment. That calls also nav host fragment. You see, you just drag and drop here or here, and here you're able to pick your navigation XML file. As you see, we just add it inside here, just pick it all that stuff, your constraints, also able to add 0, and we just pick and match constraint instead, layout width and height instead of wrap content, etc. That means we have the container where we switching our fragments. And now we need to add, of course, the fragment name, nav host fragment. It's better and easier to read it here. And when you're creating like this, no fragments, navigation, pick layout, what? Oh, maybe it's, at the moment we don't need it added here, but later we're adding some home fragment for our first fragment. Now we go to our navigation. When you have designer, as you see, we have the activity name, have now host fragment. And now we need to create a fragments or destinations using plus sign, or just adding here fragments. New fragment blank. What is the blank fragment here? And we say that here is a home fragment. Finish. And we're creating another fragment. And fragment blank, it's, we have shop, we have, I don't know, maybe details, example. In whole fragment we display our product, for example, and details, I don't know, just some other information we're creating. For that reason we need to display some two different windows. And we go to the layout, and here is the fragment home. And fragment details, for example, I just added background to see for later is it working or not working. You're switching between two fragments. Fragment details, it displays the green color, and fragment home is white color. And now we move into our navigation XML file, and here we're able to add some destinations. Fragment home, as you see, when you're adding it's start fragment, you're able to pick any. Like when you're adding more fragments, here you're able to say that start sets at start destination, and here is a home. You're able to change destinations. And later, of course, when you have some buttons and etc., you're able to add some relationships, like from here when you're clicking, moving to that, and etc. You're able to add attributes and add animation. By default, there is some auto feed enter, feed exit, etc. Default animations already added also, and to be able to add some arguments, be able to create some attributes to pass some values between those two windows if you need it. At the moment we don't passing anything, we just have two different details and a home fragment fragments without any relations. When you have like this, you're able to see the code. In code you will see nothing special. Here the start destination, and you have the two fragments, and here that's it. Here it's a basic that navigation works. But now we have our menu, and we have the bottom menu. How to create the menus inside the Android Studio. We already added menu to our name. We added bottom navigation view. But in that view, you're able to add any menu. Android have the separate menu folder or source where you're able to create your menu and use for any different menus like bottom nav or drawer menu, also the same, or settings menu, also the same menu. You're able to use it. And when you're creating new resource directory, and you're creating menu here. Okay. In menu, of course, we're able to create menu resource files. And here we say just menu. And we have the menu able to drag and drop buttons. And of course, I'm just maybe take it some menu already created items from web. There is some link in developers Android Studio. You're able to write to find information about menus. And here, how to create the menus. Here is ID, icon, title, and show as action. And we just copy this item. If we have not a drawer menu, it's not a big deal. We're creating Android ID, icon, title. We have two items. And the best stuff which is working when you need to create the on that menu item, click to move to the, for example, home fragment in your navigation. And here it's made it, if you use the same fragment name for the item ID, you just when clicking here, you will get your fragment. You open this fragment. and able to write like home fragment ID, and here we just details fragment. We using the same links as added here, home fragment, details fragment. When you're adding the same links, when you clicking the button menu, you will open this fragment. Of course, you need to write a bit of code in your main activity to do that work. And here we just using our icons. I don't know, it's Android icon, for example, compass. And we need a string home. When you doesn't have, we just click Alt Enter and creating strings XML file home. And here we picking another icon, menu help, for example, and here we creating details and hit Alt Enter, create a string details. And as you see here, we creating two different icons, and we creating two items for menu. And how to display this menu in your layout, like in home layout or in activity main, for example, because we just changing here, switching the fragments, or here will be the static navigation. To add it here, the link to the menu, you just go to the code part and go to the bottom navigation component, and here just you will add it split. I would like to demonstrate how it works, and here you just add menu and choosing the menu. It's not updating. Boom, boom. Maybe we will see later here. Code split. Doesn't show. Okay, just try to run it. Oh, it's updated here. Yes, you see home and details. And when you're running, you will get two different menus. Menu items, for example, you will of course control the style, etc. And of course, we're not changing the fragments. You see, there is no green color. And how to make it works, you need to write some code. Also, you will find this code in your before this I was open the getting started with navigation component, and there is a section update UI components with navigation UI, and down below you will find some tutorial how to use it bottom navigation and how to initialize it. Here it's just copy those few lines. We go into our main activity, and we now creating the now host fragment. Just Alt Enter. Sorry, we just create Alt Enter. And as you see, we just need to pass now host fragment. I created the same name for the host fragment, and for bottom navigation, you need to pass the bottom navigation component also. And just I hit Alt Enter, and now your navigation should work and switching between the fragments. As you see, we see different colors because we switching between those fragments without any relations in your navigation graph. And here, that's it for your navigation usage. For a moment later, we see how to pass the values, how to add some other stuff etc. Here are the basic steps how to add it to your app, the navigation. And of course, able to choose the drawer layout instead of button in. And now we need to move to our model view model. For models in Kotlin, we create a class. Instead Java class, we create Kotlin class. And we creating the Kotlin class shop like item. And in constructor, we need to add the item item values parameters. Var name, string, var price, double, and var image, for example, image URL. Oh, sorry, image URL. And here we're using as a string. We have the class of the item, shop item, and the item have name, price, and image. And in Kotlin, that's it. You don't need to create any other stuff. Enough to have like this. And we need to create our model. We're creating the new class, item view model. When you're writing your code, you need to mention your name for item, and we creating item view model. And you need extends view model. That's it. You just using also lifecycle library. It's automatically added here, and we just created our business logic layer implementation, adding here later. And now we need to create our repository, like for data, and just name it's also item repository. And here you implement your data. Like here you're getting your data from the web server or just static data or any data. And now to demonstrate how work that live data, I have some code fragments. There is some mutable list of, and there is mutable live data. Okay. We creating two stuff. Of course, by default. Oh no, I forget here. When we creating repository, better to use the singleton. Delete. When you're creating the Kotlin singletons is object. Singleton pattern. If you need single unique link for your project, you're creating the singletons, for example. And we creating our singleton item repository. And we implement for our repository, of course, the singleton is not really already implemented in best way, because you need to add more stuff to use it as a static scope, etc. We just using the simple one to use it here. And we just using DB mutable list of here mutable the mutable list of item for our link. Have the model. We have the list for our this stuff, and we have mutable list equals mutable live data, and here we're holding the list of items. Mutable live data, it mimics your observer pattern to get two methods, observe and get automatically when changing appears here. And now we have some funniest function, get items, and for items you need to return live data. Live data is list of items. And live data and mutable live data, it's also the live data child class is mutable live data. When you have live data object, you're able to change your live data. Like when you have some, for example, database, you're able to here change this data, and later you will see the changes. It's like mimics as a publisher, which is publish when you have the live data, or when you need a subscriber to see the changes, you using the mutable live data. Because in mutable live data there is only the observe function added to observe that values. And we need to return our mutable list, and here you need to first to create separate, for example, function fun load from any source. That means able to load from web server or do from anywhere. I'm just create a static data here just to show that when we're adding some data, new, oh not new, sorry, item, string. For example, get phones, price 20, image URL, we need to add some image, like 20 double, yes, sorry. Image, we just picking some image. I get phone. Maybe this one is better, smaller, and we just adding the image for that. Oh, oops. Different link. Okay, we just display the image here. And now we're adding more items. Just a few more. Example same, and here adding the computer. 1000 for laptop MCI. Laptop MCI. Copy image address. We're just adding some other image. And we have two more images. When you're adding those to the list, you're just adding to the local list here, like mutable list. That means you're able to append values. It's mutable, not immutable. And now we need to append our live data. Like when you get from web server or somewhere, you need to add this data and inform your UI to render this stuff. And for example, first I clear because it's static data, and when you're calling the same stuff, you're adding more and more and more items. When you have web server, you don't need clear it because you will get a bit different situation. And just clearing all the mutable list of items here. And now we just we need to append our mutable list. Mutable list, it means you're setting the value from DB and returning this mutable list. Here is a basic logic for our data from the any source. And of course we forget to load from any source. And we need to load from any source data and say to the live data. That's it for our repository. Now we're moving to our view model. If we don't make any changes here, we just move to our business logic layer and just create a function. If we need only to read the values and display to our view or list, we just need to implement single function which is read data from the repository. Fun get items, and it should returns live data. And if you have the small functions, you don't need to write like return list of items like this. You enough to write like get items equals repository. For example, static function to create. We also able to create static function. And it works. Onion. Forget how to write component. Okay. Where is the static? Where is this companion object? No, we're not able to do like this. Or maybe it's singleton. We don't need to create. We using item repository. Get item. Sorry. Okay. Because here is a singleton, you don't need to create component. When you have the class scope, you need to create the like static method to get this get item directly. And now means get items function returns live data get items live data list. And when you're calling this get items, you will get your updated list. And you're able to also implement more that function set item, and when you're appending the item, you will get the updated UI automatically. Now we need to check is it working or not working, and we have home fragment because home fragment is the first fragment. And here always recommended to add it on view created function, because here you when you're adding on view created, you get the view reference, because when the view is not created, you're not able to get the view. Or when the subject, when this view is created, you're able to get the view, and it's easier to manage some stuff inside this method. And when using the fragments, I don't know, it's 90% when you need a view of this fragment to control the fragment UI elements. And when you need to add it view model, how to use it view model. Here there is some rules how to use it in your UI, this view models. I have the right written here. You just need first the late init var. We're using late init because we not implementing instantly. We just like to have some reference. Private or late init. Oh, it's wrong way. Late init var, sorry. Late init var, and here we have item view model. Oh, I'm back. Sorry. Item view model. Yeah. It automatically suggests you to create this. Late init var means that you just say that I initialize this value later. And under Studio, always you need to use late init var. A lot of situations when you need to do like this. And now we have the item view model. We need to initialize our item view model. To initialize our item view model, you need to use that line here. Like you taking item view model, taking view model, model provider, get. I'm just pasting. View model provider, this get, and here you say your reflection class, for example, item view model. And this is in initialization is every time when you need to this data to your UI. And if using here, you're able to use in any other fragments or activities the same representation to get your data from the any source, doesn't matter, from the repository, for example, now. And now we able to use it item view model. And here, as you see, get items means get live data. And you here able to observe values. And here is life cycle owner, view life cycle owner, and here you should create observer. And this observer means you will get the list of the items. And here we just print line our items, and here we're able to print it your items. For example, we're printing only the all list it. It means it calls your whole list because we don't change the name. By default is it. Able to get it, and for example get first element and name, and later we just adding more, just it. We printing a single element, and later we printing all list of your collection. And for this, get items calling from your view model class here, and getting from repository updated values. If you're updating something, of course you need to create a set item, for example, and when you're setting, you're updating your UI, and automatically it updates also the, when observing, it updates also this logic, and when calling this, it updates UI. For example, now we just printing to the console icons. And later we create the list to display all items. Now we just like to see it works or not working here. When you're running the home fragment, I now need to change to view modes and run here. And as you see, system out, items, headphones, we get the name and we get the list of all our items here. You see a shop models item, blah blah blah. And how to display the toString info instead here. In Kotlin, you're able in models class to say the data class. And data class means add a toString method, hash to, and all other methods which you need to work with a simple object or Pojo Java language, plain old Java objects. When you run a program, you will see different results. Run, and we see our objects, as you see here. Item name, headphones, price, image URL, and you will get all the list with the string data here when using the data class. That's it. That means it's working, and now we just would like to add it to your program, the recycle view template. The cycle view template you will find here. Task force. Here is some template. Task 4, you will find a template for the Kotlin here and for the Java here. How to add it? There is some instructions, or just copy this code, go to the Android Studio, hit Ctrl Alt S or File Settings, and here you'll find Live File, and you will find File and Code Templates. In that section, you just adding, just deleting this, plus sign and adding the name. It's list template, for example, and here the extension to Kotlin is KT, Java is Java, and Ctrl V, adding this template for the file. Hitting OK, and now we have the recycled view. It's really hard to implement when you're writing from the scratch, and better to use the already implemented version for the rest with the best practices. And adapters, that means you need to adapt your data, your Java code to the XML files, and for that reason there is adapters using in Android Studio. And now we creating our list adapter, and as you see here we get list template. And when you're creating a list template, it automatically suggests your UI to create your file name, item list adapter, model class is item, view holder is item view holder, and layout ID, that means is for item layout. We don't have it, we created one. Item layout. Or list item layout. List item layout. And that's it. With it hitting OK, we getting single file. In Java, in other versions, was template from the 4 or more files. Now it's better and easier to read it and manage this recycle view. And we need to import our model. We need to import our class for resources, and we need to create list item layout. Alt enter, create resource file. And here we just hitting OK. Here we creating our list item, single item. And for this item I need to have the image view. Here is a sample image. And I would like to create our, for example, 100 dp and 100 dp. It's like size for our image. And here we also need to add text view. We're adding ID, it's like title, and we're adding one more, it's price, title price, and we need ID, for example, image or item image, and here maybe item title, maybe it's not makes more problems, item price. Just adding IDs for our use components. For later usage, it's easier to just get the reference to this component. And here we adding the title. For the title, able to see the font or just bold, text style, bold, true, and size, text size, for example, 30, bigger one. And for this text size price, it's 30. And when we have some layout, we need to add constraints also, where to display our price. For example, 0, and here is 32. Make it 24. Like this. We have image, we have the title, and we have the price. And now we have the single item, and here instead of full window for the item, we choosing the wrap content. And when you wrap in the content, you will see that your item will be the single line, small line. We created layout for our item. And now we go to list adapter, we see everything is fine. And here, if you need to interaction, we create some interaction, be able to create on click or other interaction with your items later. And now we just move into the bind section. To do bind, you need to bind your created data to your view. And here how we binding this, you just enough to call it the name, because we calling item view, you don't need to repeat item view with function, and you need to change this view. It means like you calling item view get item title, for example, equals item is our object, we able to get name. Instead of this, you just need to write item title. And here you just need to call it text, because for our text view, we setting the text from the item name string. Here item price text equals item price, get price. And yes, it's problem because we have the double. Just maybe we able to write as a string, or just inverse to string. Yes, sorry. Yeah, item price, we getting the price and converting to the string, because here the price is double, and setting to the text field. And now for the images, you able to add it images, but if you'd like to add it from the internet, you need to use some libraries. I recommended to use the Picasso image. Picasso is library to load image from the website and to cache and etc. And we need to only go to the Git link. Here is dependency for Picasso latest version, and we go to our Gradle module app, adding Picasso link here, and sync now. After we syncing, finished, we just moving back to our item list adapter. And here we're using the Picasso. There is some main page where you're able to get how to load it image into your image view. As you see here, Picasso, we importing get load path. We should load path like item image URL and load into item image, like to image view. We just add in single line and automatically get everything like caching, loading, lazy loading, etc. You don't need to do anything. You just use it like this. And now we done with our class. Of course, there is to do here. We need to fix it and our item the same. And that person which is creating this template also have implementation. Add it down below, details, adapter. And here you just grab the code, for example, and just copy, and it's set to do and boolean, just adding instead ID, because ID does not exist. You need to add it, for example, price, or just name that, because price is not unique here. It's optimizing performance for your list. When you have a lot of data, it's not loading again. And here you just copy another line. If it's everything fine, that returning something, we just just leave it like this. Okay, and that's it. We finish to make it. Our list adapter should work fine. Maybe it should work fine. And now in the home fragment, instead of our printing to the console, we need to fill it our recycle view. And first, in our home fragment layout, fragment home, we need to create the recycle view. First, I go to the code and change the constraint layout. It's better for me to control all stuff. Remove this text view, and now we're back to the designer and looking for recycle view. Here, just put in here, adding 0, 0, and here we're just adding zeros. 0, 0, 0. That's it. We have a recycle view, item recycle view. Here we have recycle view as a list. It's working like when you see only that items, that how many you see, it shows only that. Many items, it not performance. It's for better performance, because you're just deleting those items and later you will see like the first item, second item, etc. It shows only how many you see items, that many you will load items. It's better for performance. And that's list, because there is list view also, other stuff, but it's not performance. Better to use the recycle view. And for recycle view, you're able to create your recycle view stuff like linear layout, horizontal. You're able to switching between those during the runtime if you need it, or just changing in different ways. Some easier to make it works for any device, and it's really easy to manage also. But now in home fragment we need to create a recycle view, and I will found the code. I'm just copy from here, which is really good one and easy to understand now. Need to open here, this one here. I'm just copying from here now. Oh, I need list adapter. Okay. Few lines here. Okay. And when you have the item view model, to initialize the recycle view, you need also to initialize item list adapter. We need to create that many lines. In Java, it's more lines like than this. And here we creating the item list adapter. And by lazy using, because if not use it, it's not wasting the memory. Item list adapt by lazy, and we creating the list adapter. Oh, sorry, our item list adapter object. Of course, you're able to use not by lazy, but by lazy it's caching your this everything is caching and everything is safe, and if not created the object, you automatically if you're not using this object, you're not wasting the memory. And now the next step is to go to item view model, get items value, and you able there is two ways. Submit, yeah. Forget item model cycle. For example, maybe there is submit list or swap data. Okay, we're using the swap data from the guest list adapter. Value means we're getting items, not live data, but we're getting the our live data list of the items. And equals our item list adapter swap data, or just table submit list. You're able to use submit list, and instead of this equality, able to passing only this to our. Here was the method from the adapter class, but you're able to use like this item list adapter, submit list, item view, get model, get items value. That's it. You don't need to define it. And here you need to find item recycle view. Item recycle view, apply. Apply function means that you initializing this recycle view, and here you just calling without using the reference. It means like item recycle view dot layout manager. Instead that you write it like this. And here we're creating linear layout manager. It's for a layout. We need to create this item item fragment. For example, home fragment. Or just write this fragment. Extension, I don't need it. I need to create a content. Maybe it works. I'm not sure, but I think that here we need to add a real context to our fragment. I don't know why it's not calling now. Later we just running and see if it works. And adapter, it's like set adapter. For a cycle view, we setting the item list adapter, because here we populating populated list with items, and after this in recycle view creating layer in layout manager and passing the set adapter, and we just running our program to check if it is work or not working. Now And as you see, we get our headphones, laptop, headphones, etc. Of course, not the cleanest design for a moment, but it's working. And that's it for your for app. You're able to use it like that. Type MVVM, and later, of course, we see to the our to the Firebase, how to load it from Firebase, and for example, how to edit elements and how it's updating live using the MVVM. Now you're able to add it on click adapter if you would like, and for the final step today, I would like to introduce also to the application. It's like the class which runs before all activities start working. Like if you need to configure configuration before the main activity on create happens. There is simple class added to the Android. You're able to create a new Kotlin class, and for example, my application, and in that my application you need to extend application like this, and here you're able to edit your any any configurations before you need to run main activity. For example, you need to load some fonts, text fonts, or sometimes you need to load receivers or some states managing before, like internet is not, it's not, there is no internet connection, etc. You're able to add it here if you need it. And of course, here exists also on all those cycles, like on create, able to call it on create also. Here is not an activity as you see, but you will have a configuration before the activity starts. And how to make it works, you need to add it manifest to your Android name. Forget my application, just check my application Android class application classes. It's not added here. It's here right here. Create. Oh, we need to add Android name and add this link to our class. Android name in my application. And now you just say that your configuration is working when you're running your app. And for today is enough, I think. And next lecture we see more details, more maybe examples create with the same app. We adding more functionality.